Hello, I'm Maria Hall Brown, and this is LA Currents. Choreographer Martha Graham said, "Dance is the hidden language of the soul." Our guests today know that all too well. I'm so delighted to be joined by members of the dance team, the Rollettes, Connor Lundius and Catherine Elliott. So great to have you guys here.
Thank you.
All right, straight off the bat, dance team, the Rollettes. I know it was created by this wonderful, wonderful dancer, Chelsea Hill, but what is it and what do you guys do?
So we are a dance team made up of women with disabilities, women in wheelchairs, and our main mission is to empower other women and girls with disabilities to live boundlessly and shift perspective through dance.
So you were always a dancer?
I personally have been a dancer since I was 5 years old. And then I was injured at the age of 22. My last performance, able-bodied, was just a couple months before my injury. And I found the Rollettes about 6 months after, and since then I haven't stopped dancing.
What was it like to know that there were other women out there that really wanted to do exactly what you were doing and had faced the same sort of, hurdles that you had to face?
For me personally, it was just such a strange feeling because our founder, Chelsea Hill, and I have very similar stories. We both grew up dancing competitively and then were injured and we're kind of like, wait, what's next? I don't want my life to change at all. So it was just really empowering for me to find people out there, women specifically, that have the same goals in life and the same passion.
Catherine, you didn't actually have an accident. You actually had something that, ultimately led to where you are today. Mm-hmm. It was different. So did you have a period of preparation that you knew that eventually you might not be able to walk?
So whenever I was 9 years old, I was actually paralyzed for about 2 months. And from the time that I was 9 to 15, I was healthy and active. I was actually a cheerleader in high school and middle school. And it just kind of came on when I was 15 years old. I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease called transverse myelitis.
I don't know what that is.
It attacks your nervous system, so my body attacked itself and it left scar tissue on my spine, so it blocks the signals from my brain to my toes, causing paralysis.
So how did you find the Rollettes then? Because both of you are not exactly, now you're in California, but neither of you were originally from California.
Mm-hmm. I'm born and raised from Houston, Texas, and
now I hear the accent.
Yeah. I met a few of the girls at an Abilities Expo, and Chelsea invited me to come to a camp, and 2 days later I flew out knowing none of the girls, and I'd never hung out with anyone in a chair my age, and since then it just...
There you are.
History.
Okay, so it's not just dance competitions, because I know that you have competed in different venues, all over the place, but this is really more than that. You're talking about the fact that you get together, you've had these camps and that kind of thing, and even before we started to talk on camera, you were little sisters, so that sounds amazing. What's the program?
So the Little Sister program was something that the Rollettes started and held on to for a couple years. That's where I got to know the team more in person, and Catherine as well. And then we actually have another one of our team members that was also a little sister. But we're only a team of 7 girls right now, so sometimes we feel like a really big team, but it's also incredibly small when you think about all of the other women and little girls out there that we could be helping. So to go off of the Little Sister program, we've started a virtual mentorship program called the Boundless Babe Society. So that's kind of how we are encouraging and empowering and connecting with women right now, especially with the global pandemic going on. It's a great way for us all to stay connected virtually.
Right, because before the fact that we all should, stay safer at home, there were camps that were actually around, and as I mentioned earlier, competitions. I know that you were all part of a world competition in 2018, and we're hoping to, move forward on that. So what was happening pre-pandemic, and then a little bit more about what is happening now that we are all at home?
Mm-hmm. So the last 9 years, the Rollettes Experience Camp has been held in person. It's grown tremendously over the years. I think virtually this year we had almost 300
Almost
signups.
300. Mm-hmm.
And in person we had almost 200, which was an incredible feat from starting at 10 girls maybe. But I think in the future we are going to have some element held virtually as well as an in-person event.
It's just really special for us to see the reach and how much we've been able to grow even in the last 5 years. When I first went to the camp, there was less than 20 girls. And then the next year it grew to almost 40. And then the next year we grew to like over 150.
Wow.
So it's really incredible to just see that there are so many other women out there that share the similar mindset and just want to connect and make friends and share experiences. And we're reaching women from 10 different countries around the world. So it's incredible.
Has it shifted you inside? Did it change how you feel about you and what you can and cannot do?
I think it's an indescribable feeling for sure, and especially even just when we're all together as a team, the 7 of us, we share a bond and share experiences that the general population doesn't understand. So you feel tremendously like at ease and comfortable when you're around people who are just like you.
Same? More?
Same.
Elaborated?
Being 15, I don't know, I feel like I can be unapologetically myself around these women, and it's a bond like I've never experienced before, and it really gives me a sense of belonging.
Yeah, and it seems like you guys don't get along at all. No, I mean there's absolutely no camaraderie whatsoever, and you're not joking amongst yourselves. I haven't noticed any of that at all. Absolutely not. But besides what you guys have together, I know that you are probably hearing from other people who may not be, necessarily engaged in the whole idea of dancing, but just the whole idea of anything's possible. So what kind of feedback do you get from other people, whether they're not in a chair, whether they are in a chair? What do you hear when you're out and you're connecting?
It really just anytime we talk about what we do or if we're at events, it always brings a smile to my face, and I know that it does that to other people as well. And dance is really just the vehicle that we really try and deliver all of this empowerment and positivity. The majority of women and girls and people that we encounter are not dancers, but just getting their body moving and giving them a different experience to where they can maybe like go outside of their comfort zone and break outside of their bubble really just helps. Especially when you're living life with a disability, you can really start to feel like caged in or limited. But we strive to be boundless, and so dance is just one of the ways that we try and do that.
Okay, so there is dance involved here. Mm-hmm. So who's the choreographer? What are the different types of dances? What are the things that you like to do? How is all of that done in a very practical way?
So Connor and Chelsea actually choreograph most of our pieces, and then we have some able-bodied choreographers that have been working with us for the last few years, and we just adapt their moves for the wheelchair. And then as for the pieces, we usually do hip-hop, we do some contemporary pieces, but they're usually fun and...
Yeah, we try and dabble in everything. A lot of our performances are more of hip-hop style, but sometimes they're a little bit more jazzy. The team has done partner work, and it's just really, we feel so lucky to have been able to collaborate and work with a lot of professional choreographers here in LA. Mm-hmm. And I think it also opens up their minds to the possibilities of dance, because a lot of them have never taught to wheelchair users before, and now some of them are choreographing specifically for wheelchair users. So it changes your mindset and changes the way that you have to think about the choreography. So it's just fun for all of us.
So these chairs that you're in today, because you are going to be dancing later, yay! Are these specific to when you're dancing, or are these what you use every single day, that these are yours?
They're an all-in-one. These are our everyday chairs and our dance chairs.
Okay, so do the dance chairs, is there something special that allows you more liberty of movement in terms of the choreography? Because your choreography is very, very intricate and very, very energized and really a lot of fun. So these must, be pretty special.
Mm-hmm. It helps that they're lightweight, because we can do spins quickly. And
The less when you're talking about wheelchairs, the less parts there are, the more fluid and the more movement you can reach, as well as like the size of the chair itself. When I was first injured, I was given a wheelchair that was a couple of sizes too big for me.
Oh, no. Okay.
And that's what I actually joined the team in. So it was, I think Chelsea, our founder, wanted to just like kick me, if she could every so often, because it would take me a lot longer to like get around because my chair was bigger than everyone else. So it really does just depend on like what kind of a chair you are working with, because that really does affect your movement and your speed, how quick you can get from this turn to that turn and point A to point B. But when we teach our dance classes, whether that's in person or virtual, we have everyone from, small manual chairs to larger, and even in power chairs. So you can dance in anything. Some things are just a little bit faster than others.
Catherine, what does it feel like when you're dancing?
It honestly is indescribable. It's given me a way to express myself that I never thought I'd be able to. I don't know.
Does it, because are you thinking or are you feeling? Because, I'm a terrible dancer, but that doesn't mean I don't love doing it. And, so there's that moment in which you're not even part of yourself, where you're actually just part of the music. Is that part of this experience for you guys?
So before, I would always watch dance videos and I'd be like, wow, I wish I could do that. So joining the team 3 years ago, it was a new experience, getting to actually dance and figure out how to move my body and figure out how to move my chair. And it's just a great way to connect with all these girls.
And you, what does it feel like when you're dancing, Connor?
For me, it feels like nothing in my life has changed. I always say that dance is like the puzzle piece that connects my life together, both before my injury and after. So when I'm dancing, I tend to just kind of like forget about all the chair. It just becomes another piece of the movement for me.
The thing that's also really important, I would imagine, is, people's perceptions. And there are people who, despite all their good intentions and despite the fact that they don't want to somehow, make anyone feel bad for any reason, there are mistakes that are made. So what are some tips and hints and advice that you would give people when they're just hanging out with you that, you shouldn't or wouldn't, or that doesn't feel good, and please try not to, because, I'm happy, I'm doing great. So what are some of the things that you've encountered that you wish maybe people would adjust a little bit?
I think some people don't really think before they speak, and sometimes they say things that can be a little insensitive. I'm trying to think.
We just always say we just want to be treated like everyone else. So if it's not something that you would say to like your sister or your best friend, maybe don't say it to a wheelchair user. But I think anyone with a disability out there is used to those experiences and those encounters. And for us personally, it's more about creating a dialogue with like education and knowledge and more of a learning experience for that other person than some sort of like an altercation. So when it comes to the way that we're treated or the way that people act around us, we just want to be treated and spoken to like everyone else.
Do you mind talking about your injury? Does that bother you? Is that something that you'd rather not talk about, or is that something that's okay?
That really is purely depending on the person. So I do understand that it can be very tricky for the able-bodied community it's like, do I ask, do I not ask? Because some people's injuries are very traumatic and they might not want to go back there. But other people could be totally fine talking about it. So if I was to give advice, I would just say rather no. Myself, I usually just do like a short 3 to 5 worded answer and then leave it at that.
And you didn't have an injury, you had an illness. So how do you feel about it?
I'm pretty open with talking about it. If someone asks me right off the bat, I'm like, oh, I got sick a few years ago and that's why I have to use a wheelchair, but I usually keep it 1 to 2 sentences and sweeten sweet and short.
Was it family that really helped both of you? I mean, what was some of the, because obviously this is an asset that, you know, being a part of the Rollettes obviously is something that's exciting and fun and empowering and positive, but before you got to the Rollettes, there was a period of time for both of you. So what was it that gave each of you, you know, that gap period, courage, heart, strength, and everything? Or is it just you just knew that you had it in you?
I don't think I would have made it this far without the support of my family, and I had a few really close friends whenever I was first diagnosed, and they were there for me, and they really helped me figure out how to navigate my new life, and they were a huge support system for me, and my family, and my mom is like my best friend, and we're really close, and she's definitely my rock to this day.
Did she move out here with you, by the way?
No, she's back in Houston. My whole family is.
Oh, very brave. Coming out to SoCal.
Yeah.
And Connor, who was on your team?
Not to like pat myself on the back or anything, but
Go ahead, it's important.
but
We
for
should.
me, when I was injured at 22, so it was a really like pivotal point in my life. In my opinion, I had just graduated from college, and I was ready to just like start my adult life. You know, I'd worked very hard with academics, extracurriculars, and all that, and I just wanted to go out into the world and start living. And then I was injured. So for me, it was more so just like my drive to keep going and not let my injury take away any more time from my life than it already had. But supporting me always 100% in any decision that I wanted to make was my family. I remember I moved back home to my mom's house after I was injured to rehabilitate and just kind of get used to my new life, because it does take 6 to 12 months to recover from a traumatic SCI. But I wanted to move back out on my own, an hour and a half away from my hometown, less than a year after I was injured. My family didn't say no. They didn't say it was a bad idea or anything like that. They just supported me 100%. So having their continued support, and even when I wanted to move halfway across the country to LA, they said it's a great idea. Go do it. You know, go live your life. And I continue to have their support today, and it's really, you know, something that I am so grateful for.
How is LA, by the way? Are we doing better with, you know, the accessibility issues and all that kind of stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm like, I don't find anything wrong
I can
with
probably answer that a lot more. I am from a very, very small town in southern Illinois. And then I also lived in St. Louis, Missouri for about 3 years before I moved out here to California. And, you know, the environment is a lot different too. I find that people out here in California are a little bit more normalized to people with disabilities. So a wheelchair user rolling around a store isn't something that is so like shocking to them. Whereas if you're in a more rural area or a town or a city that doesn't really have a huge population of people with disabilities, we really stick out like a sore thumb. So I do feel a lot more like comfortable here in California, but accessibility challenges exist everywhere.
Sure, sure. Well, as part of the Rollettes, prior to the idea that we all had to, you know, stay safe at home and do our virtual experiences, etc., you used lots of performances and the camps and all of these wonderful empowerment experiences that you had. So is there one event that stands out in, you know, your mind? And I'll give you a second. I can tell she's thinking over there, and Connor's got it already. So what is something that, what is a memory that you treasure because it was such a great, you know, experience?
For me, it was literally just like 4 months after I moved here and joined the team full time. We traveled internationally and performed in Italy. So that is an experience in a week that I don't think I will ever forget. I want to go back there every single day. I would go back in a heartbeat. But it was just really so cool. And so
what was the event, by the way?
It was a weekend-long festival put on by a company out there that is like a kind of a center for independent living for people with disabilities in Italy. They host an arts festival every year, and we were their special guests. So we were so honored. We got to perform in 2 different cities in Italy, and I will never forget it.
Oh, that's amazing. All right, we gave you a little bit of time.
I think for me it's more sentimental because I met a few of the girls at an Abilities Expo, and every year we perform and travel around with the Abilities Expo, so getting to perform with them is probably something that I look forward to every year.
And there's a competition element in here. I mentioned earlier that there was a competition in 2018, and I know that the pandemic's probably, but you guys did really, really well.
Mm-hmm. That routine, Catherine and I were not lucky enough yet to be able to perform with them at the ICU World Championship, but we were definitely watching and supporting at that time, and I think I learned that choreography shortly after, and it was a really tough one. So I know that was so exciting for the team to be able to get to do.
You've both had a love of dance your whole life. So who were the people that you looked to? I mean, was it a dance company like, American Ballet Theater, or, one more modern contemporary dance company? Was it something you saw on television? What was it what was it that captured your eye that made you say, I love dance? Do you remember?
I was 5. I credit my grandmother, my Nima, for putting me in dance classes and just having me and my twin sister stick with it through our lives. So I danced competitively and on dance teams in high school and college, and so for me it was just something that I always did. I never really needed to find like a source of inspiration because dance itself was just something that I loved so much.
Mm-hmm. And?
I think for me, it really clicked when I joined the dance team. I never really had a huge dance background growing up. I mean, I guess cheerleading is dance, but it definitely clicked when I joined the team, and I really loved being around the girls just for the community at first.
I would say that competitive cheer has turned into
Yes.
dance completely. So I would say that, you do have more of a background than you probably give yourself credit for.
Yeah.
And who do you want to meet? Who have you met, and who do you want to meet?
There are just a few really cool choreographers that I see on Instagram that one day I hope we get to work with.
Well, shout out. Maybe they'll see it. All right, I don't know. Put you on the pressure. That's not fair.
Well, I just came up with an idea. One of our favorite, nearly like resident choreographers that we work with, G. Madison, he just moved to Australia. So I think, Catherine, it would be a great idea if we just
we can just
hopped on a plane and went to Australia and got to dance with him there.
Sure.
There are any choreographer that we can work with in LA that teaches at some of the big dance studios here is always such an exciting thing for us to do.
So what does Chelsea say to you guys to keep you guys motivated? Because she actually created this, it's been about 10 years now. So what's her first introductory words to all of you? And what is it about her that captivated you guys that allowed you to move across the country, to participate in the Rollettes, to sit here and allow me to talk to you for a while? What is it about her, do you think?
Chelsea doesn't know a stranger. She is welcoming to everyone, and she just has an outgoing personality that just really entices you. And I was crazy enough to fly out knowing absolutely no one 2 days after I met her. But she's our biggest supporter in whatever we do.
And more so just as a team, we all support each other. And we're a group of 7 girls, and we are all so incredibly different. Each of us has a different personality, interests, hobbies outside of what we do for Rollettes. So I first met the team less than a year after I was injured, and I just felt this instant connection with Chelsea and everyone else, and she just always makes you feel so welcomed, and that's really what we strive to do as a team to so many other women and girls out there with disabilities.
Has she ever mentioned that she might let a guy in?
We have danced with
I know, yeah.
male dancers before, able bodies and wheelchair users. Right now we are all about female empowerment and women empowering women, but throughout the year we do host some co-ed events and, you know, dance with male dancers, but primarily our focus is just females.
The idea that, you know, not only you're talented and you're able to do these remarkable dances, but that, as you've said this a few times now, the empowerment and the awareness and the allowing people to understand that A, they're not alone, and B, that there's limitless potential. I mean, that is a remarkable gift. And as that, do you feel as if you have a responsibility to you know, demonstrate that in your everyday life, even when you're not dancing with the Rollettes?
You look at me, I was waiting for you to answer.
You're like sisters. I really feel like there's this family dynamic happening
We
here.
are. We are a sisterhood, and you know, I think there are a lot of women out there looking up to us, but we also look up to them so much. We wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for the women out there that attend our dance classes and support us and cheer us on at all of our performances. So it really is just a giant group of women supporting each other. We wouldn't be who we are without them. And so that just really motivates us and inspires us to keep going and to keep growing.
It's really cool because before I met all the girls, I didn't know a wheelchair user that was my age that I could relate to, because in rehab, there would be like these older men and they're like, oh, like you can connect with him. And I'm like, I have nothing in common with this person just because we're both in wheelchairs. But since meeting the girls, since we have such a large connection of women in wheelchairs outside of the dance team, I've also gone to like connect with girls who have also been diagnosed with transverse myelitis. And it's a super rare thing. So it's a really cool thing to get to compare each
experience,
because every case is different, and it's just incredible.
I know the pandemic has limited the events that you can do, but this virtual opportunity so that is allowing, I would imagine, you to reach out to an international audience. It'll be really interesting to see what kind of feedback you get from outside of the United States, and maybe your invitation to Australia. You know, so are you looking forward to that, and how is that working? Are you all in front of a camera at one time, or are you doing it separately from your homes? How is it actually practically happening?
So we actually do, every week we're teaching virtual dance classes on Zoom. Myself and Chelsea Hill, our founder, we flip every week, and I do beginner classes, she does advanced. And so I'm teaching girls all the way from like 12 to 50 years old every week. So that's really fun for us, and that happens in our home, as well as some of our other little virtual hangouts and girls' nights that we host. But our big event of the year, Rollettes Experience, is usually held in person, and we actually do have girls that travel to Los Angeles internationally just for that. And we're always so grateful for them. But this year it couldn't happen in person, and we held everything virtually. The team was in studio with a very small crew, and everyone else, nearly 300 women and girls, joined us virtually in their homes.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so show me one move that I can do.
Kat, do you have a favorite move?
Doesn't have to be a favorite. It could be the basic. You said you were just one move.
One move that I tend to do a lot is what I call a shampoo.
Oh yeah.
So everyone kind of just does that throughout the day.
Doing that.
Open it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. All right. So if people want more information about the Rollettes,
you can find all of our information at rollettesdance.com.
You are both absolutely spectacular in every way possible, and I am delighted to have had the chance to talk with you. And I know we're going to watch you dance here in a second, but I want to say this is a wrap on LA Currents, but stick around because we're going to have a wonderful dance performance from Catherine and Connor.